Hi everyone, Sue Cook here. I had a article published in Sen magazine, and it's on dyscalculia, and I haven't talked about that for ages. So I thought I'd make a little video to bring that back into awareness, because dyscalculia is something that I experienced really heavily when I was young and had horrible experiences at school and hated maths, and I've wrote a whole chapter on it in my book, Maximize Your Child's Potential. So I wanted to talk about that today because I've had a lot of people message me. A lot of people leave me very long voicemails and all sorts of things. So I just wanted to make some notes regarding it. So I've made some notes. Oh yeah, this is it. Um, so I was sitting in a classroom. Have I told you this before? I think this might be on one of my other videos. And I remember my first ever maths lesson when I was 5. I remember because I'd lived abroad. I'd lived in Canada, and we came back to England, and I didn't go to nursery or anything. I started school at 5, and I remember being in the classroom, and it was the summer when I joined, and the teacher was drawing all this stuff on the board, which was stuff like 3 plus 2 equals 5 plus 1 equals, and all the other kids were putting their hands up and they were answering it correctly, because they could see what I've just explained to you, but I didn't see any of that. I just saw symbol, 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 symbol. And I thought, ooh, magic, we're dealing with a couple of codes here. I didn't say it in those words because I was like 5, but those were the processes I had in my head that I couldn't put into words. So I was thinking, well, we're dealing with, and I worked it out eventually, a code for an amount, or a symbol for an amount, and a code for an action. For example, 1 plus 1 equals 2 is symbol, code, symbol, code, symbol. And I had to work that out because, being a dyscalculate person, that wasn't obvious to me, and no one explained it because they assume you know, but they don't. So that was me when I was 5, and working that out around 5, 6. And by the time I'd worked out all this adding stuff, they'd moved on to taking away. And then they started, oh, another thing, add. They added in words like plus, and never told me it meant the same thing. So again, that was adding layers into this code that I couldn't understand. Add, plus, and then we're doing taking away, and suddenly it's minus and subtraction without anybody explicitly telling you that those codes for the same word. So I found that incredibly confusing. And then I just about learnt to do the addy uppy thing, and now I'm having to do the taking away thing. And by the time I just about worked that out fairly badly, they were doing times. And then there was another word for that, which was multiplication. It was horrendous. And I never really, well, I can just about do it. And then division, and what was that? Dividing and division. And then I think maybe there was another word for that. I don't know, but it was all a little bit much. By the time I'd kind of not really learned how to do it properly, I'd learned how to bodge my way through. They'd gone on to other things, and I've got no idea what, because I was so many years behind by then. But I do remember I was good at algebra, because it was like drawing, is that what you call the angle thing? Pictures, 90 degrees, 180. I could do all that because it's visual, you can look at it, and I learned how to do that. So that made me feel good. But there were so many gaps in what I had. And of course, the teachers shout at you, don't they? Because you can't do your symbol, code thing, and they just tell you off. I remember my teacher in the 3rd year juniors, Mrs. Allen, didn't like her. Well, I didn't like her after she started shouting at me. She had me in one lunchtime because I got nothing out of 10 in the weekly test. And she's got me there, and she's going, what's 10 plus 10? And I'm going 100, because I was in such a state by then that I could not listen or process anything she said. So she's yelling at me even more, and I'm crying, and then she sends me out in absolute disgust. And then I find myself outside the classroom in tears. So embarrassing. What a terrible way to treat people. So, of course, this is how decision state intelligence, right? When people get shouted at as a child, a pupil, you shout at people about anything, we go into survival mode and then we can't think. You've probably seen my other videos on decision making and how when we're upset we can't make decisions. So if we're going to educate people, children, let's not upset them and scare them or shout at them, because it just means that you can't function properly. So then what we've got is a double problem. We didn't just start off with dyscalculia. Now we've got trauma around even doing anything to do with maths. And I refuse to engage with it quite a lot because it wasn't a pleasant experience for me. And I was so lost and so many years behind. Yeah, it was all rather horrendous. I wanted to talk about that because I think it was about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, I was looking into charities. There were none for being dyscalculate. None, not a single one. I think there are now, but there was so little known about it. And I was thinking of starting a charity for dyscalculate people. I'm just going to go back to my notes. And I've accidentally lost all my notes. Oh, this is where I was. So let's see what I've missed out. Oh, yeah. So since this morning, last night, when I posted the article, I've had people messaging me going, I thought I was just stupid. I've never been able to explain this. My mind goes blank under pressure. I can do it at home, but not when someone is watching. This is just such a sad situation. And I've been there, I know. And what I've realised working all these years with people is that our nervous system is so involved. It's not just a case of teach someone something and they get it, because if they're not in a headspace to get it, they never will. What have I written here? This is quite good, I think. The nervous system starts to associate learning with threat. And when that happens, something very specific can change. Access to thinking changes, as we know from decision state intelligence. Logic can go offline. Memory can become unreliable or even unreachable. And even things you know can feel accessible. And people are then told, try harder, focus, you're not applying yourself. How ridiculous though, isn't it? Once you know about decision state intelligence and you're applying that to the way people get treated when they're upset over something because they can't do it. Crazy. I remember when my son was dyslexic and he was like 5 and 6 and everyone was saying, I say everyone, it's obvious who it is really if you look back, but I'm not going to say. They're going, it's easy, you just do it, calm down. And I'm thinking, my child can't do it. There's no point telling them to calm down. What they need is proper support. So I was always a massive advocate for my son when he was having issues, and I was always really patient with him. Okay, what else have I got here? So the original learning differences may be neurological, but the shutdown layered on top is often physiological. Yeah, does that make sense? So we've got, like, if you can't track, I've said this so many times, you can't track along a line of numbers and process them properly. If your tracking's not working, you're just not going to be able to do it functionally. And then you're going to make mistakes and then everyone's going to tell you off. So you've got the functional layer and then the physiological layer on top. And that's, you see, why performance can be inconsistent. And that's why someone can understand something one day and completely lose access to it the next, because it's just not going in. And that's why so many people grow up thinking they're lazy or incapable when actually they're overwhelmed and misunderstood. I feel so strongly about this, having been there especially, and having been around, supporting my own child. If you recognise these things in yourself, I want you to know this. Struggling does not mean you're unintelligent. Freezing does not mean you're lazy. Do you need me to clarify that anymore? So, okay, so I'm quite smart-ish. Well, I don't know. I've written a load of books and I've got a degree and can do stuff. And I get lots of compliments about how I operate from my friends and from other people. But the whole maths thing's a challenge. It's not about intelligence, okay? And it really isn't. Please don't feel it is. And it's not because I'm lazy. I tried really hard, really hard. It just still didn't work when I was little. It's not about that. So I've written here, there are reasons this happens, and there are ways of understanding and working on it. If this resonates, I'll be sharing more on this, and there are links below to support for resources, books, and ways to work with me if needed. But most importantly, you are not the problem, but you may have been explained incorrectly for a very long time. I'm just going to stop there for this video on that. And as you know, my website is www.brainbuzz.co.uk, and from there you can find links to Decision State Intelligence, my books, blah blah blah, everything's there. I'm doing quite a lot with Decision State Intelligence. I've had so many people contact me just today, bizarrely, for emotional support, which is, you know, in recovery in motion, a book I've written that I'm just going through the final editing stages of, but it's perfect for people who are feeling really lost. So many people are feeling really lost at the moment, and of course the DSI. So Level Up though, Level Up, How to Be a Neuro Ninja. I think I've got a copy of it somewhere here. Level Up, How to Be a Neuro Ninja. This is the one for how to help your brain really quickly. So you can get my whole program for £19 rather than coming to see me, £100 a session, much cheaper that way. And you get everything you need, but you can still contact me if you've got an issue, clarify anything. And then this DSI, so I'm running pilots. I'm calling them pilots because that's what I called it initially when I was testing it. And I've refined it even quite a lot since then. So this is to make Decision State Intelligence understanding much easier and much quicker to grasp. And you'll find all about that on my website as well, and in things in my shop, which you can link through from my website. My Instagram, what is my Instagram? I think it's Sue Cook Brain Buzz. Let me double check that so you get it right. I can post links below anyway. Yeah, Sue Cook, the brain homeopath, neurodevelopmentalist, and you should find that there. And what else? Yeah, my YouTube is a Child Brain Whisperer, but you'd know that if you're here, so you don't need to worry about that. But yeah, it's just been really quite an interesting day with the range of inquiries I've had. Some of them are from the Wellness Wave festival from last summer. That was interesting. And some of them are from, or one of them is from Mark Atwood. So if you haven't seen that, there's a really interesting video that we did. Lovely interview together. I thought Mark was just such a lovely interviewer. And I think my one with Althea Finch, I've done quite a few videos with her too. So people find me from all sorts of different places. Anyway, I'm rambling. I hope that's helpful. Let me know, and do get in touch if you need more help. Oop, this side.